everyone. I would first like to thank God for His grace and mercy and allow me to do this video to inform the world about the racial climate that a lot of our officers endured for years at the United States Capitol Police Department. I'm a 25-year retiree. I retired as a lieutenant, and I'm also the vice president of the United States Capitol Black Police Association, and I'm also the lead plaintiff in a current active class complaint titled Blackman Malloy et al. Versus United States Capitol Police Board in the United States District Court located in the District of Columbia. I stand by the contents of this video. The subject of this video is, it appears that the U.S. Congress is where justice come to die for Black officers and Black civilian employees who work with the United States Capitol Police Department. And the purpose of this video is to educate and inform America and the world of the hostile work environment that we endured during our careers. And also, hopefully, share a relationship between the history and January 6, 2021, where the insurrection occurred on the United States Capitol building. I joined the United States Capitol Police Department in October of 1982, and I took my assignment in January of 1983. In January of 1983, from day one, I knew something was not correct. My assignment in 1983 was the United States House of Representatives House Division. I worked on the 311 tour of duty. And during that shift, we shared a radio channel with the Patrol Division. And the Patrol Division is the units that normally patrol the buildings and grounds around the Capitol within their jurisdiction. And that Patrol Division is also was considered a specialty assignment, and I think it still holds true today. The specialty assignment with the Patrol Division was made up primarily of white male officers. And due to the fact that we shared the same radio channel during my tour, I would constantly hear the white male officers, when they would make their traffic stops, they would constantly stop Black males. They would identify their stops as Black males constantly throughout my tour of duty. So I heard that on an ongoing basis. That was my first introduction into the environment when I first arrived on the department. And during my tenure there, of course, I made contact with several other senior officers who would tell me their stories. And one story stood out in particular because of the fact that it touched me. And that story was one of the senior officers advised me that one of his white sergeants told him that he should carry out orders like his family did, picking cotton when they were in Alabama. Well, I kind of took offense to hearing that because I am from Alabama, and clearly my family did pick cotton, and clearly it was in the 60s. I was only approximately 10 years old, but today those memories are deep rooted in the front of my mind. And when he told me that, not only was I hurt for him, but It brought back memories from my past. Therefore, I knew at that point either I could stay at this organization to try to effect change, or I could pack my bags and move on. So I chose to stay. And if I was going to stay, I was going to fight for justice for all until I had no more fight left in me. And I can honestly say that today's date, that holds true. And the reason why I say that is because the current case, a racial discrimination case that we have, is still active and it's located in the United States District Court for the District of Columbia. That's where the current case is currently, and it's been over 19 years. So I've held my end up. But needless to say, a lot of other officers have since retired, expired, will never see justice, and we're carrying their legacy on. Well, today, the United States Capitol Police Force is currently comprised of approximately 2,300 officers, and that includes the civilian employees. What I am going to attempt to do for the next few minutes is to highlight part of the agency, starting with the year 2000. And the reason why I chose that year is because at that time period, we had a general counsel that was assigned, employed by the United States Capitol Police. And that general counsel is going to be referred to as General Counsel number 1. General Counsel number 1 he was considered the gatekeeper for the disciplinary process. And that process should have been treated as such, fairness for all, not just a select few. General Counsel number 1 was allowed to remain in his position throughout his career, despite having numerous allegations of conduct unbecoming. Not only did he have conduct unbecoming, there was conduct considered unbecoming on duty and off duty. He has some DWI charges. Yeah, he was involved in a car accident where a person became injured. And despite all of that, he was allowed to remain in his position. Well, in 2000, there was an incident with him involving a cab driver. He allegedly called the cab driver the N-word. The cab driver was a minority cab driver. To continue, with General Counsel number 1, his behavior outraged Black officers and civilian employees on the department. It outraged us to the point where we conducted several demonstrations in opposing his behavior. We met with members of the United States Capitol Police Board. We sent letters to members of Congress, to include the Speaker of the House at that time. And we also ultimately ended up filing a bar complaint against General Counsel number 1 in the state of Virginia and also in the District of Columbia with the DC Bar Council. General Counsel number 1 lacked of respect for the rule of law, his legal profession, the safety and the welfare of others, harmed the institution, and he harmed the institution greatly. His behavior set the tone for other officers to follow, and as a result, several officers did do exactly that. This general counsel led by example. Officers conducted themselves in a similar manner. DWIs, driving under the influence, causing injuries to citizens. Well-documented cases. And they were also allowed to stay within the agency and to even not only stay, but get promoted. Because General Counsel number 1 paved the way. Well, the department, should I say, paved the way and allowed that type of behavior to continue. That's just one example. In 2001, the United States Capitol Black Police Association decided that we no longer could accept the hostile environment in its current status. We united and we lodged a racial discrimination complaint in the Office of Compliance. Within that complaint, we alleged irregularities in promotions, a lack of promotions for African Americans, unfair discipline, lack of training, and lack of hiring for African Americans to become United States Capitol Police officers. The Office of Compliance failed to remedy any of our alleged complaints. Not only did they not resolve any of our complaints, the Capitol Police legal representation was none other than the United States House of Representatives legal counsels, employment counsels, and the United States Senate employment counsels. These are the counsels who defended the United States Capitol Police illegal racial acts. And later in the year 2001, we filed the lawsuit in the United States District Court for the District of Columbia. And that brings us to today's day, and that's where the case remains 19 plus years later. In 2003, the United States Capitol Police created an Office of Employment Counsel, and within that Office of Employment Counsel, one of the duties of the United States Capitol Police General Counsel, one of his duties was to advise the United States Capitol Police Force and the United States Capitol Police Board about workplace policies, practices, and procedures. That was one of his primary duties. This position went to Employment Counsel number 2. And Employment Counsel number 2, he's also a male employee, civilian employee, high-ranking employee on the department. Just when we thought things could not get any worse, Employment Counsel number 2. Employment Counsel number 2, he also was allowed to remain in his position for numerous years, despite many complaints of racial discrimination, to include a hostile work environment, retaliation, just to name a few. In 2010, the United States Capitol Black Police Association filed a complaint requesting an immediate investigation into the behavior of General Counsel number 2 concerning his illegal discrimination and hostile work environment and retaliation acts continue, despite the United States Capitol Black Police Association asking for an investigation. His acts were committed primarily towards United States Capitol Police civilian black employees. We filed a complaint with the Office of Compliance. We filed a complaint with the Inspector General with the United States Capitol Police, the United States Capitol Police Board, and we even took it a step further because it was so egregious. We filed with the House Ethics Committee just to get it on record. And 2011, General Counsel number 2 became the primary subject of one of those black employees. He was the primary subject of her complaint alleging the above mentioned allegations: illegal racial discrimination, retaliation, hostile work environment, among others. This black female civilian employee with the United States Capitol Police was allowed to attempt to mediate her claims against the subject of her complaint, which was none other than Employment Counsel number 2. That was wrong then, and it remains wrong today's date. It should have never occurred. January 6, 2021. No surprise to any black officer. See where I'm going with this. In 2011, the United States Capitol Black Police Association took it a step further. The department was failing, continued to fail as far as redressing any type of racial issues. So we took the complaint to the DC Bar Council and filed against Employee General Counsel number 2. In 2018, Me Too movement is in full swing on the Hill. The United States Capitol Black Police Association took the same complaint that was lodged years earlier to a United States House of Representatives, member of Congress, female member of Congress, to seek any type of assistance we could in getting Employment Counsel number 2 removed from his duties. Silence is complicit. Complicit merely means that you knew about these illegal acts being committed, but you failed to correct. Accountability must start in your own house. It must start with the United States Congress. It must be applied to all, not just a few, at all levels of the force. As far as evidence, the United States Capitol Black Police Association have not been sitting on the sidelines. We have provided over the years a wealth of evidence, both in congressional hearings. We've held demonstrations, we've had meetings, we've pleaded, we beg, please help us. Please help your officers, in particular your black officers and civilian employees. It fell on deaf ears. It fell on deaf ears. On January 6, 2001, the world witnessed our security failures, which resulted in a horrifying experience for all officers involved in fighting domestic white supremacist terrorists. One of our officers died. Numerous officers sustained injuries. Reports of 2 suicides. One United States Capitol Police officer and a Metropolitan District of Columbia police officer. January 6, 2001 should have never occurred. Our Black officers have always willingly put our lives on the line. We have served, we have protected our members of Congress and the congressional community for years. But when it comes to promotions, training, fair discipline, and hiring, they are oftentimes put on the sidelines, not valued, not worthy for the same thing as their white peers receive. That is wrong on all levels. Now I understand that there are several investigations going on because of the insurrection. I applaud those investigations, and I hope they are fair, and I hope they are open, and I hope we find out the truth, and I hope the world know what the truth is. And if it is determined that any member of Congress, official of the U.S. Congress, when I say official, for those who are not familiar with that word, an example for an official would be the clerk of the House, and another example would be parliamentary of the Senate. Those assignments or jobs are considered officials. Anyone in that official capacity, either body of Congress, the U.S. United States Capitol Police board members, current or retired, the United States Capitol Police Force, current or retired, and anyone else related in any manner to the U.S. Congress. If it is determined that you aided, you assisted, you participated, you abetted in January 6, 2001, then you need to be held accountable to the fullest extent possible, to include charges and prosecution. We will accept nothing less. Not today, not ever. To this end, we as United States Capitol Black Police Association are demanding our 19-plus-year-old racial discrimination complaint to be resolved, and resolved now. We will not accept anything less than a swift resolution so we can start the healing process with this agency and their officers to reform this department. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your prayers. And I look forward to doing the next video. God bless you. The end.